This is a relay project. Real Talk starts right now. Here's Ryan Jesperson.
We want to welcome you to a very special edition of the show. This is, as a matter of fact, our final episode, our final public episode of 2024. And we're grateful to those of you that are going to be watching us live today, streaming across 7 different social media platforms presented by California Closets. And those of you that will be catching the show later on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. In just a moment, Edmonton's Mayor, Amarjeet Sohi, a year in review. There's a lot going on, not all of it great. We'll pick his brain. The electorate wondering, will he seek re-election? Plus, what does he make of his former boss's woes? Of course, Mayor Sohi, a former senior federal cabinet minister, Justin Trudeau facing calls to resign. We'll go there with Mayor Sohi, and then Alberta's Premier, Danielle Smith, will join us. We'll get her to respond to anything Mayor Sohi may put out there. We'll get her to comment on the outcome of that by-election. Just hours ago in Lethbridge West, the NDP hanging on to that seat. You better believe the entire province was watching that one. What does Alberta's Premier make of the President-elect of the United States referring to Canada as the 51st state? We'll go there and many other areas that are of impact and of interest to Albertans and our fellow Canadians. We'll wrap up the show with our final live interview of 2024 with Ben's dad, Mike Stelter. We'll talk about Ben's Cup with full hearts. This episode of Real Talk is happening with the support of Alberta's top online real estate school. That's Rello, online at rello.ca. If you're looking to kickstart your career in 2025 and that's looking like real estate, you can't make a better move than registering today at Rello. There are many, many reasons why Rello's better than all the rest. Namely, they've got experienced instructors available around the clock. They'll help you prepare for your exam, get licensed, and hit the ground running so you can tap into unlimited learning potential and say goodbye to that cubicle job for good. Make sure you use the promo code Ryan100 when you register for the Alberta Commercial or the Alberta Residential Real Estate Bundle. That's going to save you $100 twice. That's Ryan100, all one word, when you get registered today at rello.ca. As we say hello to His Worship Amarjeet Sohi, the Mayor of Edmonton, joining us in studio. Thanks for making time for us.
Well, good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, these year-enders, always an interesting exercise to kind of look back on the year that was, look ahead, the year to come, and kind of wild circumstances right now. The economy's in flux. Obviously, the federal government, there's a lot of uncertainty around what that future's going to look like. And of course, a municipal election looming next fall. So there's a lot on your plate and a lot on everybody's mind. How would you assess 2024 from the mayor's office?
2024 continued to be a challenging year for many Edmontonians because they continue to struggle with the affordability crisis. The mortgage rates, the rental cost, the grocery bills, transportation cost continue to make up a huge amount of people's household expenditures. And I have been focused on, to ensure what we can do to make people's life affordable. So that's where my focus has been. I am very pleased to see that Edmonton actually led the national housing starts. Edmonton had more housing starts in 2024 than any other major urban center in Canada. So that retains our housing affordability. Very proud to have finally opened the 50th Street and 82nd Avenue rail crossing that has been irritant for close to 35,000 vehicles cross that rail crossing every day, and now that finally it is open. And there has been other successes, but a biggest one for me was ensuring that we are lowering property taxes that were proposed by administration. At the same time, continue to invest in core municipal services that people rely on, that make their life affordable, or they need to have access to those services to maintain their affordability. So that's where my focus has been, trying to lower taxes, protect public services, and continue to invest in economic growth opportunities so that people can have well-paying middle-class jobs, and our economy can continue to grow.
I know there will be a lot of people that will go, this is not a council concerned with lowering property taxes. This is a council that has no problem raising property taxes. That's a reputation, whether it's fair or not, that has been affixed to your council. Look no further than your colleague, Tim Cartmell, who wants to be mayor, and all he's talking about is how he can get property taxes down, implying that you can't do the job.
Well, I won't comment on what Tim has to say, but I would comment on is that what I have been up to over the last 3 years. When I got elected, I inherited a situation where for the last number of years, property taxes were kept at 0% or reduced. That led to a huge deficit of $88 million that I had to grapple with. What I also noticed that our core municipal services were willfully underfunded, such as snow and ice that was underfunded. I restored funding for that service. Now we are actually seeing improved outcomes. The number of calls that we usually get around when we get a major snowfall, that number has considerably declined this year, even though we had a record number of snowfall. What I inherited was there were no investments in public transit bus service network for the last decade prior to 2021. Now we are seeing 34% growth in our bus service because of the investments that council have made under my leadership. When I look at that, recreation centers were closed, pools were closed early, libraries were no longer open on Sundays when I got elected. Now those libraries are open on Sundays, and rec centers and pools are open longer, making people's life access more affordable for those services, right? So I have been busy restoring services and investing back in services. I also inherited, Ryan. This is very interesting. I hope that I will get an opportunity to ask these questions to other council members as well. That we did not properly budget for our labor costs. Previous council only budgeted a nominal amount of money, 0% increases or 1% increase for labor cost when we were still living through a high inflationary pressures on every household. So I had to fix that problem too. And, my colleagues who vote against the budget or complain about taxes have created all those problems. So I had to fix them, and that has led to normal than higher property taxes, particularly 2024. But those were very difficult decisions. We don't get elected to say, we're going to raise taxes. We get elected to fix problems. Sometimes fixing those problems also means that we need to raise revenues, and municipalities have only two ways of raising revenue. One is property taxes, another is user fees, and we have made a decision not to increase user fees beyond the rate of inflation, or even keep it below the rate of inflation, because of the affordability crisis that households are facing, particularly those who are living in low income and middle income areas, right? So we have tried to balance that, but I always welcome ideas from my council colleagues, but I have not seen many ideas coming from those who oppose the budget or complain about property taxes, that what they have done to lower those taxes, what they have proposed to lower those taxes.
Why is Edmonton leading the country in housing starts? What's working? What does it say to you? How did it come about?
Yeah, because this council has made some very courageous decisions to overhaul our zoning regulations, permitting fourplexes, duplexes, up to 3-story apartment buildings on single-family lots. Our permitting process is the fastest in the country. We have been recognized nationally for removing red tape. So all those things come together and cumulatively have created conditions where we have the highest amount of housing starts, and we are able to maintain our housing affordability. There are other pressures on affordability, but when it comes to market affordability on housing, we have been able to retain that affordability.
You know, a lot of people are really pissed off about that rezoning, right? Like I hear from people all the time. We came up on the show the other day, and one guy says, we've just finished building our dream home. He and his wife, both public servants. He says right next to us is going in an 8-plex. He says, I don't think we would have built here if we knew that was coming in. What do you say to those people?
Well, change is hard. Change does bring anxiety. I acknowledge that. But as a municipality that has seen the record population growth over the last few years, we have to make some tough choices. We can continue to grow outwards, which is very expensive to fund and service, and a huge harm to the environment, or we can grow up or grow inwards, encourage more infill that allows us to use existing tax base to fund services and be more financially sustainable city. At the same time, create opportunities for people to continue to live in the neighborhoods. We have seen actually the population decline in some of the mature neighborhoods. But so with more housing stock, more high diversity of housing choices, people are moving back, young families are coming back, and that adds to the vibrancy that helps that corner store thrive and survive, and helps schools be vibrant and other facilities to be properly used and reduce the cost of the city services.
The recent horrific murder of 20-year-old rookie security guard Harshandeep Singh has reignited concerns about crime and public safety, not just in Edmonton's downtown, but downtown in particular. What concrete actions have you and council taken this year to make Edmontonians feel more safe, and why do you think public confidence remains low?
Public safety remains one of the top concerns among Edmontonians, and I recognize that. I met with Harshandeep's family when they visited us here in Edmonton from Winnipeg. I was very grateful for the Alberta First Responders Association for putting together a memorial service for him, and there's one being organized tonight actually by some of the committee members. So what we have done, when I got elected, I would say we have significantly increased police funding over the last 2 to 3 years. Police funding has grown by close to more than $100 million, 20% growth. So more police officers are being hired. We advocated to the province to allocate more resources to police. So the 50 officers they're funding are currently being hired. Some have been already hired. We added more bylaw officers to our public transit system. We added more crisis diversion teams. We have made changes to the bylaws to prohibit the sale of knives at convenience stores or pepper spray at convenience stores. So we have taken significant steps. But here's the challenge, Ryan. That person who killed Harshandeep Singh should not have been living in Edmonton or any community. That person should have been either properly housed or properly supported for the integration, or that person should have been in prison for the crime he has committed. And I'm seeing over and over and over again that we have the highest concentration of correctional facilities in Edmonton. People being released from those facilities once they have done their time, or on parole or on bail, being released into the community without any proper plan for integration, and they end up causing so much harm to our community, killing people and making Edmonton the unsafe place. I have raised this with every minister that I had the chance to meet with, provincially and federally. We worked together with Minister Emery for bail reforms, which worked, but more needs to be done. So last week, I have sent a letter both to Minister Emery and to Mr. Virani asking for a joint meeting, because we need to tackle this issue. It is beyond my control. It's beyond the city's control that we have high concentration of correctional facilities. And that is the root cause, along with many other root causes that we're seeing in our city, and those root causes go unresolved, and that is why we are seeing. So we are doing what we can on our end by dealing with symptoms and by increasing more enforcement, but the justice system needs to be reformed. The bail system needs to be further reformed, and at the same time, what we need to see is look at some of the social determinants and start fixing those problems too.
You've clashed with the provincial government in social media posts and otherwise over funding shortfalls, arguing that the province owes Edmonton and other municipalities tens of millions of dollars. Why haven't you been able to secure those funds that you believe Edmonton is entitled to, and what's your plan if these issues persist?
So there are a number of reasons why our property tax is going up. One of them I highlighted already, the decision of the previous council. Another one is that we have seen a significant decline in support from the provincial government in our infrastructure funding. And the third one is that prior to 2019, provincial government used to pay us the full cost of accessing municipal services for provincial buildings. Now that has declined by 50%, which has meant that we lost $80 million of revenue that we were getting from the province in the form of property tax or grants in lieu of property taxes, and we continue to lose $15 million ongoing. I raised this Premier when Premier became the leader and when she took office as the Premier, and continued to raise with them. And I had a very productive meeting with the Premier last month where she committed to me that she's going to fix this problem. If that problem is fixed in February when they table their budget, I committed to the Premier that we will use that money to lower taxes to impact people's affordability. If that happens, the property tax will go from 6.1% to 5.4%. If they pay back what is owed to us, that's $80 million. We can completely eliminate our rainy day deficit and further either invest that money back into fixing our existing infrastructure, or further lower property taxes. So I'm hopeful that they will step up, they will live up to the promises that they have made, and we can further reduce property taxes that Edmontonians expect us to do so.
You're a former Liberal MP, a former Liberal cabinet minister, have had close ties to Justin Trudeau and to his government. The Prime Minister's approval is in free fall. With more than a dozen members of his own party, elected MPs, calling for his resignation. Do you believe that the Prime Minister has lost touch with Canadians, and what do you think the future holds for the Liberal Party?
Well, I don't think it's my role as the mayor of Edmonton to weigh in onto the leadership issues or the crises that provincial or federal governments face from time to time. My role is to find ways to work with them to advance that Edmonton's
Sure, but you're a human being, and you're a former cabinet minister, so as you're watching this unfold, what are you thinking? I
know I would say Canada is facing some significant challenges when it comes to dealing with new administration coming out of the U.S. after the U.S. election. And those challenges require undivided attention of everyone, from the federal government to the provincial government, and we can play a role if asked to do so as local mayors and through FCM, as we did during as FCM did during the last round of negotiations with the previous administration under President Trump. So we are willing partners to be there, but I think this crisis requires everybody's undivided attention, and I hope that people will be able to refocus back on what matters to Canadians, which is their well-being, their economic prosperity, their jobs, and having tariffs will not only make people's living more unaffordable, but it's going to have a huge complications and implications for our local economy here in Edmonton and in Alberta and Canada. And I hope that everyone can work together and focus on the needs of Canadians.
All right, so everybody's wondering if you're going to seek re-election this fall. Calgary's mayor, Dr. Jyoti Gondek, has gone on the record, says she's doing it. She's running again. She says she won't run under a party banner. She doesn't believe that that's best case scenario for voters. Everybody wonders what's going to happen in the capital city. Are you seeking re-election or not?
Ryan, you know me. I've been in public office for a long time, right? I started in 2007 as a council member, served in that position till 2015, then 4 years in federal government, and now 3 years in this role. through that experience, I have learned one thing, that timing is important. I want to remain focused and have remained focused on serving Edmontonians and doing what I can to make their life better. We have made some tough decisions, but very important decisions. That is why I have not decided so far to think about my own personal ambitions, because I want to remain focused on them. I believe that the day I decide what I'm going to do for the future, my focus is going to shift from serving Edmontonians to my own personal ambitions, and that timing is very, very important. So I'm going to sit down with my family over the break and have that conversation and decide, because it's not my own decision, it's a family decision, and that I'll make that known early next year, and we'll go from there.
So do you think that councillors that have already announced their intentions are putting their personal ambitions ahead of the job at hand?
Well, I won't comment on what others do, but what I can comment on is what my personal views are and how I look at public service. I firmly believe that needs of Edmontonians are always ahead of my personal ambitions, and I will continue to serve in that role as long as I can. I love my job. It's exciting to be the mayor of the city at the most challenging times coming out of COVID, the impact of COVID on our communities. We are tackling those, the affordability crisis, we are tackling that, the crime and disorder issue that we're facing in our cities. By the way, overall, when you look at the crime is very personal. Anyone who experienced a crime, you can throw all the data at them. For them, that incident defines their view about safety. But having said that, we have seen 13% decline in overall crime in our city, and we have seen 21% decline in crime and disorder on public transit. But crime severity continues to be a concern, so I will remain focus on that. I'm very excited about Edmonton. We have so much potential. This is a city, this is a city that lifted me up. This is a city that has given me so much in my life, and I would not choose any other community than Edmonton. It's my honor that I get to serve, and it's my privilege that Edmontonians had given me this opportunity to serve them, and I will continue to do my job to the best of my ability.
Well, it's an honor and a privilege to have you joining us on our final episode of 2024, Mayor. We appreciate your availability. My money is on you running again. But I'm just going to see if his face cracks here. No, stone face, poker face. Look at that. Poker face, John. What do you think? I think my money's on you running again. But you're right. Timing is everything. We'll see what happens. We'll look forward to your announcement, maybe here on Real Talk in early 2025. How's that sound?
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Happy holidays to you, Mayor. Merry Christmas
same
to you and your family.
And Merry Christmas to those who are celebrating Christmas, and happy holidays to everyone. Looking forward to see you around, and hopefully we'll see you around at New Year's Day celebration at City Hall.
You got it. That's Edmonton's Mayor Amarjeet Sohi. Coming up in just a moment, Alberta's Premier, Danielle Smith. Sounds like a productive meeting between the two. She says she's going to fix the funding shortfall for the cities. That'll be question number one. How's she going to do it, or how's she getting started on that already? This conversation is happening with the support of Friesen Brothers. And if you are looking right now to get your holiday dinner figured out, you're hosting the family for Christmas, and you don't want to spend your entire time in the kitchen while they're all laughing and having a wonderful time together in the living room, why not leave it to the team of Red Seal chefs at Friesen Brothers? You can check out more information on their website, including cateringbyfriesen.com. They've got you covered with everything you need, from the roasted turkey, all the sides, including those dill creamy carrots that I absolutely rave about all the time. All the details. You can place your order now or visit them in one of their 17 locations. Friesen Brothers is proudly Alberta grown and Alberta owned. If you're still looking for something to put under the tree for that soulmate of yours, your life partner, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, the one that's so hard to buy for, they have everything, but it's all over the floor. They have a disorganization problem. How about a consultation with California Closets? How fun would that be? Put a little certificate under the tree. You guys go, grab some lunch, visit them at one of their beautiful, beautiful showrooms, sit down with the design team, and let them put their creative work, get that magic moving. They can work with any space, any budget. You can learn more on their website and request that free consultation at californiaclosets.ca. And our friends at Kubi Renewable Energy want to remind you, they're not up on roofs right now installing solar panels, but they sure will be this spring, and that means that they're hiring up right now. They're Western Canada's fastest growing solar installer, and they're looking to staff up in Calgary, Lethbridge, Edmonton, and beautiful Kamloops, BC. If you have your ticket, if you're an apprentice, if you're an expert in sales, HR, office management, Kubi wants to talk to you. Check out the careers link today at kubienergy.ca.
Love the Coobs.
There you go. Happy holidays to everybody at Kubi. I'm going to be hosting their company Christmas party coming up on the 20th. I'm very much looking forward to that. Let's roll in hot to Alberta's Premier Danielle Smith. Of course, limited time, but we're grateful for her availability. Premier, thanks for making time for us. I know everybody wants to talk to you. There's a lot going on. The Mayor of Edmonton, Amarjeet Sohi, says about a month ago he had a very productive conversation with you, says that you've promised to fix the funding shortfall for municipalities. How are you doing it, or how are you going to do it?
Well, part of what happens is because one level of government isn't allowed to tax another, I think what is developed is a grants in lieu of taxes. And so the NDP first reduced that from what the equivalent would be of 100%, and then it got further reduced when we were facing hard times under the UCP. And he's raised it with me, and I've looked at it, and I said, is there a good reason why we shouldn't be doing this? What does the federal government do? And the federal government pays it 100%. So I've asked my Minister of Municipal Affairs to bring this back through the budget process to see if we are able to address it in this budget cycle. Edmonton is the most impacted by that. I was in a small community that has a single Alberta building in it, and it was still a $50,000 hit, but in Edmonton it's a $19 million shortfall. So I'm sensitive to the argument. I've raised it. It's a process we need to go through. More to say when the budget comes down at the end of February.
Okay. By-election win, Lethbridge West. I believe it's still unofficial results, but the NDP's claiming victory. Rob Miyashiro will be the representative that'll kind of take over that seat that was vacated by Shannon Phillips, former NDP minister. What do you read into the by-election result? How bad did you want that seat down in Lethbridge?
Well, it's one of the safest NDP seats in the province, and congratulations to Rob Miyashiro. I look forward to meeting him in the legislature. We had a great candidate down there who's a sitting council member and former chief, John Middleton Hope. I think he put in a fantastic effort. We increased the vote share, which I think is really encouraging, and we reduced the margin by which they won. So I would say that isn't exactly a glowing approval of the new leadership that they have if they're losing their historic support in one of their strongest ridings. That said, a win's a win. So we'll look forward to seeing their new member in the legislature.
Premier, with uncertainty around Alberta's economic outlook, and for that matter, the country's economic outlook for 2025, is part of your job going to be preparing Albertans for the possibility of a deficit budget?
Yes, I think we're seeing that in both not only the eye-popping budget deficit we saw federally, 40 billion to 62 billion. We also saw it next door with our neighbor in British Columbia. I think they went from a 7 billion projection to 9 billion. And we're hearing as well in Manitoba, the issues are the healthcare costs overrun. And it's a significant issue as we face not only an aging population, but also those who have a severe need for surgeries. Not only that, but chronic care, cancer diagnoses. So we have to figure out how to manage the system to get the right patients in the right place at the right time, because that's really what is causing the acceleration in everybody's budget, and every province is experiencing that. Then we have the double whammy of having a lower projection for WTI. As I prepared people for last year, we balance our budget when oil is at $74. When it goes down, it creates a huge hole. For every dollar that it's off, it's a $600 million hit. And so we haven't finalized what we think that number is going to be. We've been watching it. It hasn't looked great in the last few months. And so we just need to prepare ourselves that we have become over-reliant on resource revenues. You can't change that overnight, but it's part of the reason we're shoring up our Heritage Savings Trust Fund so that ultimately the investment income off that fund will replace our reliance on this volatile revenue stream. And then when I say double whammy, just add in the uncertainty of the 25% tariffs, which I think I don't need to tell your audience would be devastating for every sector of our economy and our entire country. And so with the Premier's meeting, it's a full court press to try to avoid getting those tariffs implemented altogether, because I just don't think that not only our economy, but certainly our provincial budgets will be able to manage it.
Yeah, I'll ask you more about the tariffs and President-elect Trump in just a moment. But you promised tax cuts during the election campaign, and with these affordability pressures continuing to rise, why haven't those materialized? Can you promise those to Albertans for 2025?
Well, Albertans have to be satisfied that we might go into deficit, and so that was always the balance. Is that I was trying to make sure that we didn't have to run a deficit. That was part of the reason why the finance minister deferred, because at $74 we were looking at only having a $340 million surplus, and so we have to rethink that. If Albertans are prepared to have a deficit for a short period of time in order to get those dollars in their pockets, that's the kind of discussion that we're having at Treasury Board, and we're getting feedback right now. People can feel free to give their input on that, but do know that there's certain things that are mutually exclusive. If you've got low energy prices and you've got high costs on healthcare, and you give a tax cut, something's got to give. And what would give is that we wouldn't be able to run a balanced budget.
The tweeting and the posting from President-elect Trump is something else. There's one that he posted just the other day on Truth Social, where he basically says that nobody can answer. He's talking about subsidies for Canada, and he talks about how the United States is subsidizing Canada to the tune of $100 million. I know you clap back in a tweet, but he basically goes on to kind of bang this drum around Governor Trudeau and Canada is the 51st state. I know that some people find it amusing. Some people go, it's Trump being Trump. But there's a lot of people that are pretty ticked off about it, that feel like it's a real swipe at a country that they're very proud to live in Canada. I know that you snickered at it in past, but I mean, how do you actually feel about it?
What's the phrase in comedy? Once funny, twice dead.
Yeah, sure.
It's not getting funny anymore. And I think I've talked with Dominic LeBlanc, who was at that Mar-a-Lago dinner, and I said, "What's going on here?" And he said, "I don't know. It was a joke at the table." And so why is it continuing on? I don't know the answer to that, other than to say that what you can see from the president-elect is that he takes a position of dominance in order to get a win in negotiations. And so he clearly is trying to, I think, demonstrate that we're not meeting our NATO commitment. And so if we're not meeting our NATO commitment, are we a country that's able to defend its borders? He's he actually made an error in that tweet. I think he meant to say $100 billion, not $100 million.
Yeah, it seemed like a small number.
Yeah, and I don't look at that as a subsidy at all. I mean, what I was pointing out is we actually subsidize the Americans, because with the dollar discount, we're sending them cheaper commodities that allow for them to use those raw materials to manufacture products that we then buy back at the higher price because the American dollar is higher. And because they have such prowess in that manufacturing sector and the technology sector, we don't really have much choice but to buy back at the higher prices. So those are the kind of things that we want to talk about. Canada buys more goods from the Americans than their biggest trading partners, than Germany and Italy and France and the UK combined. And that's something that we need to make sure that the president understands. You put these kinds of tariffs on, it's going to result in a trade war. It's just going to hurt Canadian and American consumers, Canadian and American producers, and then the very people that he is, or the very country he's most concerned about, China, is the one that's going to win from that. So I don't know what the antagonism is all about or the trolling is all about, but we're just going to try to stay focused on making the points that I think Canadians want us to make. We are an incredible partner and ally. We've fought together in wars together, died together in wars together. We intend to stay a separate, strong country. Now, let's talk about the real serious issues. Let's work together on the border. Let's work together on the NATO commitment. And let's work together on extending a free trade agreement that benefits both parties.
Yeah, Premier, you're in Alberta right now, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you just met with your fellow premiers like earlier this week, like just days ago, and interesting to obviously see what comes out of that. Probably the most prominent premiers would be you and your colleague in Ontario, Doug Ford, talking about things like trade and border security. Albertans will know that you've set aside or committed $29 million to new border security measures here in Alberta. Nobody will blame a provincial leader. Nobody's going to blame a premier for trying to get the attention of the American president and reiterate a desire to see healthy economic progress and a good relationship continue. But critics are saying, listen, we got to work together on a united front here. And it doesn't make sense. Like, is Doug Ford speaking for us? Is Danielle Smith speaking for us? Is Justin Trudeau speaking for anybody anymore? People are trying to figure it out right now. What's your take on that? And what was the tone of those talks, you and your fellow premiers?
Well, it's part of the reason why I've called for an election at the federal level is and I think that what you would see is that you would have a lot more credibility with a leader in that chair saying, you got to deal with me for the next 4 years. And I don't think that the current prime minister has that ability to say that. So call an election and get a new mandate, or call an election and let's get a mandate to somebody else. But this is no time for us to be having the uncertainty in leadership and the drama that we're seeing at the federal level. What we're trying to do as premiers is to show a collective front. I mean, I think when you look at our statement, we all agreed. Number one, we want to avoid tariffs on January the 20th. Number two, we want to make sure that we're all addressing the border issues in a serious and committed way so that we can address the real concerns that they have out east with migrants coming across the border, and out west with the illegal flow of guns and drugs and human trafficking that is being fueled by organized crime and gangs. Those are issues for Albertans. Those are issues for us, and we've got to deal with them and do so in a way that shows the Americans that we're taking it seriously so that they can feel some confidence. And we're hoping that that dual message, as well as talking about the incredible trade relationship we share and how it benefits American companies and American consumers, and of course, any tariffs that would go the other way would just be harmful to us. So I think what you're seeing is that we're trying to focus on that to get us to January 20th, and then perhaps the strategy will change once we see what the true nature of the tariffs are and how they're applied.
Premier, we put it out on our social media yesterday that you and Mayor Sohi were both going to be joining us, and we asked what people would like to ask you, what they'd like to ask him. And, well, didn't we hear from Edmonton Councillor Andrew Knack, who'd like to ask you a question directly? He says, I want to ask about housing. He says, Minister Nixon has regularly referenced the housing strategy with $9 billion in housing investments to provide affordable housing for 25,000 more households by 2031. He says 13,000 of those units expected to be addressed through new builds. What is the specific action plan for the $9 billion? How many units will be built in each municipality? Are 13,000 units enough? If not, how many units and what type are needed to ensure there's enough housing for everybody experiencing homelessness? And how can Edmonton and all municipalities help you, Premier, with the development of a specific plan of action to address the housing crisis for people experiencing homelessness?
Oh, well, I welcome the councillors' willingness to work with us. It's a vitally important issue, especially in Calgary and Edmonton. I know that my minister, Jason Nixon, is going to have more to say on this because he has been working with his counterpart, again, someone who I gather is leaving office today as well, Sean Fraser, on how we might be able to get to a funding arrangement to deal with homelessness. We were very, very close to having one. I hope that got signed off on before he ended up leaving so that we don't end up losing any ground. But we are also realizing, as we did with the navigation centers, that we've got to take a more hands-on approach in working directly with those who provide housing. And so, again, there'll be more opportunities as well if we can work directly with the city, directly with a developer, directly with a nonprofit. I think we'll be able to accelerate that. We've been a little bit frustrated that dollars that we've been giving to intermediaries hasn't realized the results that we wanted it to. So I think that the minister is intending to make a couple more announcements in the next few days on that. And I'll make sure that he knows that Councillor Knack is interested in partnering on that.
Premier, it's been over a year since you announced your overhaul of Alberta Health Services. What tangible improvements can you point to today?
Oh, probably. I mean, the fact that we now have this new structure, I'm just so pleased by it, because what we've really done with this structure is, instead of AHS being all things to all people, they were a policymaker, they received all the funding, they contracted out to their service providers, they delivered everything from primary care to mental health and addiction to long-term care. And quite frankly, their core business was suffering, and their core business is running our hospitals. So what we've done over the last year is we've set up a separate primary care Alberta that is going to be focused on our doctor contract, which you'll hear more about later today, our nurse practitioners structure. I mean, the fact that we put that in place and already have over 60 nurse practitioners who expressed interest, and over 50 that have already set up shop. That's a very tangible response. We also have extended our pharmacy arrangement so that they can do more primary care. And Shoppers Drug Mart announced that they were going to build out 103 different centers within their pharmacies. As a result of that, will be more than anywhere else in the country. So I'm really pleased on that part, because the main goal is we got to connect every single person with a family practitioner. So we are well on our way there. Mental health and addiction through Recovery Alberta, we've decided that instead of building the incorrect type of beds. We need to build the right beds. They need to be purpose built for the kind of patients that we're now seeing. So we're in process on building out 1,000 beds for mental health and addiction that are going to be specialized centers. We've already announced and opened 3 of them, one in Red Deer, one in Lethbridge, and one in Gunn. We have our therapeutic living units that are in our corrections facilities that allow for inmates to ask to be in recovery. It's just an extraordinary success story. In the year that they've been up and running, we've seen upon release a 51% decrease in the number of people who overdose and die, which is remarkable, plus a year-over-year decrease of 53% in overdose deaths. So we're very pleased with our overall strategy on mental health and addiction. We've got more to come because we're only partway through building out those facilities, and we've got compassionate intervention as the final stage on that, which you'll see legislation in the spring. And then Assisted Living Alberta, we had to make the decision about where does that piece around seniors care and supportive living go. And it just made sense to amalgamate that in seniors community and social services. So we just have begun the process there. And so I'll have more to say on that next year, but it took a little while for us to figure out the problems there. Part of the problem was that AHS doesn't have a line of sight to empty beds that are in anything other than AHS facilities. So their solution was to add more AHS facilities. And our solution is, why don't we leverage what we see in the private sector a little bit more? We have a substantial build that we're going to need there, probably 12,000 new beds by 2030. So that will be, we'll hopefully be able to announce the starting point on that in the budget. And then, of course, finally, healthcare, what's left? Acute care, and that is going to also be under Adriana LaGrange. We've done a $330 million budget in upgrading operating rooms. I got to visit one in Rocky Mountain House, probably one of the best in central Alberta. It's now able to do knee and hip replacements. We've got a number of others that are being upgraded so that they can also do surgeries. Plus, we've also inked that deal with the Charter Surgical Center in Edmonton. We'll do one in southern and central Alberta. And then on top of that, we're about to launch into a review of our rural health facilities. We've really underinvested as a province in maintaining those facilities. So we want to identify what's missing, what needs to be fixed, what equipment needs to be there so more capacity can be done on site. And how do we make sure that it's staffed up properly so that folks all over the province are able to get the care? So that work begins in earnest. It's already begun, but I think you're going to see some major strides on all 4 of those. So I'm pretty pleased we got all that restructuring done, and now the hard work begins.
Premier, I've got 1 minute left with you and 2 things I have to ask you about. So let's go 30 seconds per. Kevin O'Leary, the TV star, says he wants to roll out a $70 billion development, a big data center outside Grand Prairie. We talked to the mayor of GP about it. A lot of people are excited about it. A lot of people say this is nothing more than a big joke. How serious are you about it? And would Alberta be willing to make concessions, provide tax incentives, and maybe even invest real dollars into it?
We don't need to. That's the exciting thing about it. We've told the AI world, if you want to come to Alberta, have a plan to bring your own power, and we would love to have you. And so many of the proposals, and his is only one, we were hearing from all of the big players, many of them want to be able to get a toehold with a small amount from the grid, and then it be building out their new power plants at the same time, so that when they start scaling up, they'll have their own power. Maybe they'll have excess power they can sell back to the grid. So I think this is going to be a win for consumers, and it's going to be a win for our economy. So I would just say that O'Leary is very serious about it, as is the MD of Greenview, and I'm looking forward to seeing the first investment.
Okay, final question for now, Premier. We appreciate you making time for us. I believe everybody's still waiting on numbers from Canada's chief actuary, right, regarding what Alberta may be entitled to in pulling out of a Canada Pension Plan. Assuming those numbers are in front of you and Albertans soon, can we expect that to be included, that referendum on the ballot in the municipal election in the fall? And if Albertans vote resoundingly no on it, is that it? Is it a done deal?
We will accept the view of Albertans. Yes, if there's a referendum on it, whether it's yes or whether it's no, we will accept that. That is the only condition under which we would make any changes. I'm not even sure yet that Albertans want a referendum, because we have to get the final number and then go back out and tell people what it would mean for their contributions and their benefits. We got a report back from the chief actuary, but it's a bit of a head scratcher. It doesn't contain a specific number or even a specific formula. And so we're still kind of analyzing what that means and how do we get to some agreement. There's no point in doing a referendum if nobody knows what that number is. So I'll be working with my finance minister to see how we might be able to get to some firm number, because I think Albertans need to know. And if they want to vote, then we'll go to a vote.
All right, Premier, really appreciate your availability. Wishing you and your household, your staff as well, a happy holidays and a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you. Thanks, Ryan.
You got it. That's Alberta Premier Danielle Smith joining us. Appreciate your comments on the Real Talk live chat powered by Park Power. We'll get to those in just a quick second. I did notice somebody in our live chat just said, hey, hang on a second. The mayor of GP was on. When was the mayor of GP on? If you missed it, you can check out Jackie Clayton joining us. Yeah, it was a good show. A tough show. We were talking about, obviously, the murder of that security guard, Harshandeep Singh, off the top, which is the episode that you're looking for. That's December 12th. And in the second half of that episode, there she is, Her Worship Jackie Clayton, talking about it. Now, she was clear to point out, she says, like, we're not building it in Grand Prairie. It's not actually her jurisdiction. Yeah. But obviously, you have to assume, would something like this materialize? Number one, the people that would be building it would be most likely living in Grand Prairie or near. And then, of course, people would be commuting to and from Grand Prairie were they to be working there. So it's interesting to get Mayor Clayton's perspective on it. She says, it's similar to what the Premier's going to say. You're not going to be an elected official and say, I think it's a joke and ridiculous and I'm not, putting any faith into it. But Max Fawcett also joined us a day before. That would have been our December 11th episode of the show talking about this as well. And Max, I think safe to say, not sold on it. He basically said that, Max's take on it is that Kevin O'Leary is playing Albertans for fools. You can check that out as well. That was our December 11th episode of the show with Max Fawcett, lead columnist of Canada's National Observer. I'm curious to know where Albertans land on that and on the other stories we've discussed. We tried to cover as much ground as we could with the Premier and with Mayor Sohi. He couldn't get that answer out of Sohi on whether or not he's seeking re-election, but he put on a brave poker face when we put it in front of him.
Oh, putting the camera to him and seeing that face is just like, well, he's been asked this, I think, a million times before, Ryan. But kudos to you for trying to get it out of him. But I think him taking the holidays to think about it is probably the best thing. You sit with your family. I know the Prime Minister's doing the same. And I said this yesterday on the show. I would rather the city, the province, the country find all that stuff out after the holidays. You know what I mean? Let's relax a little for a bit.
I'm interesting to hear Premier Smith chime in, go on the record about Donald Trump talking about Canada's the 51st state. He's it's been like it's an ongoing theme now. It's like she talked about that principle in comedy. This is something where it might have been something that people are chuckling over at the beginning. Yeah. You kind of roll your eyes. You kind of think it's funny. It's like Trump being Trump. But then if it starts to actually become a thing, it's like if you're, somebody in your workplace walks up to you and sort of pats you on the head. Yeah. That's what it's like. Somebody you're supposed to be working with, somebody you've had a relationship with for like 150 years. That's this relationship. You have to probably characterize it or describe it as one of the most important and significant, let's call it an international relationship, a neighborly relationship on planet Earth.
And it feels a little unfair. I mean, he's talking about securing the border, and all our premiers and even our prime minister goes down there and says, hey, we'll do what you're going to do. We stand up. We listen to Trump. We're going to do it. I just hope that's as far as it goes. Because, again, when you're talking about, for instance, number one, the drugs coming across the border, down in Mexico, the drugs coming into the States from Mexico are like 100x. I was looking at the fentanyl rates and all the other things. I mean, if you're worried about Canada and drugs and people coming in from there, I mean, I don't hear them making fun of Mexico every day. So it gets a little old.
When you take a look at the measures that, for example, that Premier announced for Alberta, this $29 million for border security, a lot of it, like if you look at how they're implementing it, it's drug sniffing dogs, these cold weather drones. I don't know much about them. Increased personnel. I think they said about 50 different sheriffs or different agents that'll be working professionals in that sense. But let's be clear, it's not a one-way flow. Yeah. Right? There's a two-way issue at the Canada-US border.
And the issue is much smaller from Canada to the States than Mexico.
And as Donald Trump's promised deportations start to manifest themselves, and I know a lot of people, like this is something, he's inaugurated on the 20th of January. Expect on the 20th and the 21st and the 22nd. And that's going to be a period of madness. And I'm not trying to manifest that myself. I'm just saying, like, every U.S. president, when they come in, they start signing these executive orders, and like this guy's been chomping at the bit for 4 years, and this guy's and I think Trump, like, this is the safest thing I'll say all day, but like he's driven by different factors than a lot of other political leaders,
100%.
right?
He's not worried about legacy
he's a
and all
different
these
Doug.
things.
I think that there's going to
Yeah.
be he's looking to settle the score. There's some
100%.
malice involved, and I think that obviously he still believes that there was an injustice done when Joe Biden won that election. He still believes the election was stolen from him. He believes that there are people that are unfairly imprisoned right now due to their involvement in January 6th on storming the Capitol. So this is all going to happen. Point being, the implications on Canada is that if deportations begin, I mean, if this is all of a sudden law enforcement showing up and kicking down doors and taking people away, then all of a sudden Canada will see an influx of people. Like that is a no-brainer. That is one of the safest things we can say. And how well equipped is Canada going to be to manage it? And
Exactly.
you could probably say right now, not very well.
I agree with everything you said about Trump, and I'll just add, and I think you already know this and everyone's saying this, it's not going to be like last time. He is already initiating things that he wants to do. Ryan, he's going to hit the ground running. The first day in office, he's going to be signing things. He's going to make sure he makes every ounce. You're not going to see him. I mean, he'll still go golfing, but it's not going to be for like 40% of his term like last time. You can bet day one, he's going to start initiating everything he wants to. So, I mean, have a good holiday season, because January is going to be, brace yourself, like you said yesterday.
Well, and for a lot of people, like just to sort of on a point of privilege or a note of privilege here, like for a lot of people, the stakes are much more serious than us.
100%.
Right? For us, it's more like, what are we about to see? For a lot of people, it's like, how is your life about to change?
Exactly.
To state the obvious. On our Real Talk live chat, powered by Park Power, we sure appreciate the hundreds of you that are chiming in today, that are watching this episode live. I love this from Lauren, who says, I always love to point out that across Canada, we have a mix of so-called left and right governments, and everybody seems to be experiencing the same problems. I mean, I guess in different ways. Whitestream says Trump deporting people will throw the U.S. into an immediate and deep recession. We also, have comments here from Jill, who says, Trump's statement about children born in the United States to non-U.S. parents, they call them dreamers, right, should be deported, is ironic. He says it would mean that all of his children would be deported. I mean, I don't know about that. Tara Lynn, nice point, though, Jill. Appreciate the chuckle. Tara Lynn says when the bully gets bored with their usual targets, everybody is free game. And anybody who believes that Trump wouldn't turn on them is in some sort of a smoke bubble. I mean, that's the thing. And again, like, not to state the obvious, but like when Trump, this whole stuff about like Governor Trudeau, and I mean, Trudeau's easy bait right now. We talked about the feeding frenzy that's happening in Ottawa. Everybody's piling on. You can check out our YouTube short. I thought you did a really great job with it yesterday, Johnny, about that. But like, he's vulnerable right now. But the idea of like talking about Canada as a 51st state, this is a proud nation. Like, we had 99-year-old veteran Marty Jones sitting in that chair beside me. You can catch that episode. We released a special episode on the 11th of November 11th, Remembrance Day. This guy joining the Canadian Armed Forces, Marty signing up before he was even old enough to do it, storming Juno
Crazy
Beach
story.
with his
Absolutely
brother.
insane.
Like, it's one of the most powerful episodes I think that we've ever had. You're going to look a guy like that in the eye and start calling Canada the 51st state?
It's insane.
You kidding me? Canadians that have been there beside their American brothers and sisters for more than 100 years in the First and Second World Wars. Like, you got to be kidding me. This is a country, and this is an important relationship, but make no mistake, we are a proud nation, and I think that Canadians have a very limited tolerance. And if you're, you're going to, even if you're, I mean, I know that there's Trump supporters in Canada. There's lots of them. They say statistically more Trump supporters in our home province of Alberta per capita than in the entire United States, which is an interesting statistic. But the point being, how long can you continue to support somebody or laugh off somebody denigrating and insulting your country? Like, how long will you tolerate that? Not very long for me.
100%. Please go watch our Remembrance Day episodes and go check out everything over the holidays. But Marty especially, that story, absolutely insane. Like, not allowed to have rum rations, too young, but go out and be in a frenzy of bullets and to have to fight for your country, but not allowed to drink a little rum to take away the anxiety. Just absolutely insane. Such a young guy. And then just seeing his brother before he got on the boat and being like, oh, you're going too. Like, people were, it was such a different world back then. You have to listen and just kind of get a grasp of it. One thing about Trump too, I think he's a bit paranoid, Ryan. I'm not going to say like he's scared, but he's a bit paranoid because all these people you're talking about that he wants revenge for, Some of them are previous people he had on his team. His VP, Mike Pence, all these people who came out afterwards when he canned them and said, hey, Trump's a horrible leader. He doesn't know what he's doing. I'm pretty sure he's going to be holding his people closer to all his stuff, closer to the chest this round. And he's also, I don't want to say blood, but he is. He's out for revenge. He's out for blood. He's going to hit the ground running on day one. And honestly, I'm a little, I don't want to use the word scared, but, January's not going to be a great month for anyone, I don't think.
Cody's checking in on our live chat powered by Park Power, your friendly local utilities provider. Cody's watching us live on X this morning. He says Danielle Smith has been speaking a lot of sense lately, which is crazy for me to say. That from Cody. That's an interesting comment.
Well, I was surprised, too, at her comment on the O'Leary thing, or on Trump, saying, hey, enough is enough.
Well, I'm not surprised. I mean, she's a proud Canadian. I think any proud, that's kind of the point I get at is like.
Well, she's also going down to the inauguration and all this other stuff. So for her to say enough is enough today, I was like, thank you, because I think we're all thinking that.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear, so Cody's comment sort of implying that he's surprised when Danielle Smith speaks sense. I'd love to hear from our audience on both the political leaders that we heard from today, Amarjeet Sohi, Danielle Smith. They're wired very different politically, obviously. I'm actually quite encouraged, to be honest with you. This show, the mandate of this show is not always to fan the flames of discontent. We're not always looking to perpetuate fighting between different levels of government and the like. And I'm actually kind of encouraged to hear that there are productive conversations happening between municipalities in the province, to hear that people of different political persuasions are working together for the betterment of the citizens that they serve. Like, that's a good thing.
Isn't that what they're
send us
supposed
an
to do,
email.
right?
It's what we hope they do. Best case scenario,
but to hear the
right?
premier and the mayor, had a good meeting. Thank God, near the end of the year with all this turmoil. That's awesome, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're over the holiday break thinking about this, maybe you're listening. I know a lot of you are going to catch up on your podcast as you're watching the kids, or maybe you're walking the dogs, or maybe you're driving to your family's gathering. Maybe you're headed out to some other jurisdiction. Safe journey to those of you that are. But as your brain's working and as you're sort of chewing on what you're hearing here, send us an email anytime to talk@ryanjesperson.com. We're always curious to hear what you believe the political legacies are looking at right now. Amarjeet Sohi, when we ask him, are you going to seek re-election? I mean, I do personally believe.
Stone-faced.
I believe that he's made up his mind.
Yeah.
I do believe that he's, and again, this is just my gut instinct. I don't, take it for what it's worth. I could be proven wrong, but it's interesting for him to give us, he says, listen, in politics, timing is everything. And he's absolutely right. Like when we had the Prime Minister with us in studio, 21st of February this year, our most listened to podcast of the year, by the way, no surprise there. But he talked to us about whether or not he would seek re-election. He was adamant. I mean, he didn't think about it for a second before answering. He says, of course. He basically says, I'm going to lead this party into the last. He's absolutely confident about it. Well, geez, how things change.
How do you feel now?
You asked Justin Trudeau about it now. I think the answer may be different. He's not talking to anybody. He's not doing the year-end interviews right now, and who could blame him? So for Sohi, the election is in October. Let's say you need 4 to 5 months for a solid campaign. You could probably run a really solid one over the course of 3 months or so. There's no need for him, politically, strategically, or otherwise, to declare whether or not he'll seek re-election 10 months out. As a matter of fact, it might be kind of a stupid move strategically, to be honest with you, as the incumbent. So we'll see. But he acknowledges to us that there needs to be a few things that happen. If Edmonton's economy is starting to improve, if all of a sudden people are seeing improvement in service delivery, if all of a sudden some of these affordable housing starts are turning into people being housed, and they can point to this, his campaign can point to this and say, look what's happening under his leadership. Well, then it's not smooth sailing. Nothing's easy, but it's going to be way easier than if the city's in an absolute mess. Councils arguing with each other. There's a big dumpster fire outside City Hall. One of the things we didn't have a chance, there's a million things we didn't have a chance to get to.
Wish we had a 3-hour show today.
Edmonton's fire chief is gone. Edmonton's police chief is gone. There have been Edmonton's city manager was swapped out in the last while with Andre Corbould leaving. So there have been significant departures at the top in Edmonton's capital city. And so all of that, either that is a reflection of the mayor or maybe it's not. But the fact of the matter is, all that matters on this is public perception and what people believe to be true.
Yeah. Noob Try Again in our chat says, I don't give a shit how good their meeting was. I want to see results. Well, yeah, but also it's a little stressful going into the holiday season if you heard that the premier of the province and the mayor are butting heads. I am happy to hear that they are planning for the future, even though, the mayor's term has a question mark on it. It's great to see people working together. I think we should all the same thing with the States and Canada. We need to work together here and calm the waters. And that doesn't mean like bending the knee to Trump, but I mean, he's asking for some things. Let's do it. Let's calm things down here. The whole world's been in just a whirlwind, a tornado for the last like 18 months. Let's try and work together across all these lines, right? And,
for sure. Tracy D in our live chat, powered by Park Power, says, on one hand, we're complaining that Trudeau hasn't been saying much lately, and then on the next, we want no news from anybody until after Christmas.
I didn't say no news,
says Tracy. I'm not surprised at all the Prime Minister's not saying anything, because what's he going to say?
No,
you and I talked about this too, and this makes perfect sense. Obviously, like the Prime Minister is not going to resign right before Christmas and send things into absolute disarray, right? When the Prime Minister resigns, it immediately triggers a leadership race. And I don't think that any leader in their right mind, or any leader that has any consideration for their colleagues or for Canadians for that matter, is going to essentially trigger a leadership race like a week before Christmas. That's not a smart thing to do. It's going to ruin people's holidays. But I would suggest, like, this is... it's kind of a weird scenario for the Prime Minister. If my math is correct, I might be wrong. It may be his second Christmas since he and Sophie split up, but I'm pretty sure. Like, keep in mind, however you feel about the Prime Minister, he's also a person. He's a human, and this, I think, if my math is correct, like it's his first Christmas split up, and it'll be his last Christmas as Prime Minister.
Yeah,
right. And so those are two like big things.
Huge.
And so like. Yes, he's the Prime Minister. Yes, it's the most powerful job in the country and one of the most powerful in the world for sure. But he's also human. And I would imagine that over the Christmas break, there'll probably like some of you said in our chat, some long walks in the snow. But like some thinking.
Reflection.
And if anything, I wouldn't be surprised. I saw Wise Kyle in the chat wondering if, will Trudeau still be Prime Minister come March 30th? I think that's kind of more of a reasonable date to be looking ahead.
Yeah, I think...
we know that he wants to host. He's very keen on hosting the G7, right? In June, he really wants to host the G7.
There's no way he would let someone else do that. I think he's going to hold on till then. He's going to host G7. He's going to probably go down and see Trump get inaugurated. He's going to do all the things that he's been doing for these last, 8, 9, 10, 11 years. And he's going to do it one last time rather than just put yourself in his shoes. Cause everyone's like, he needs to resign. You think he's going to resign and then have some, false head of the party or a new person, Pierre, whoever, go down and do all these things? No, he's gonna have his last dance with all this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You'd have whoever comes in as the new leader of the Liberals and
going
becomes
down
the Prime
to meet
Minister
Trump
is going to go
and do
down.
G7.
Not a chance.
No
So
way.
I think if we're putting money on this, which we're not, I would say that the resignation, if it comes, and I think it has to come, but if it comes, I think it comes in like the summer.
Yeah, and
and who wouldn't love? I mean, a leadership race in the summer months, he's like, thank me later, right? I mean, people are on vacation. That part kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But, you may be pushing it a little bit late. So maybe it's in the spring. Maybe he sets that date. Maybe the G7 is his final thing. But I don't know. Leadership race in January, February. Can you imagine what a nightmare that would be for people?
I'll say it again. I said it yesterday on the show, and I think it's going to become a thing. Just remember where you heard it first. But Justin Trudeau is going to have a hashtag Blue Christmas. And that has many meanings if you want to read into it. But yeah, I think it's going to be a sad one for him. But I'm glad that we don't have to deal with all this mess until after the holidays. It's 2 weeks. It's not like, the whole if he resigned now, look at our dollar today, Ryan. Did you see? Imagine what it would be if he resigned. We'd be in turmoil.
For sure. Kyle's not wrong to point out the Liberals have to pass a budget in the spring. He says, do you think they will? I mean, here's the deal. You think Jagmeet Singh wants to go to an election right now? I don't think so.
No.
And so Singh is taking his shots. You're watching it happen. People are talking about him as, what's Poilievre's calling him number one selfish, but he has kind of his nicknames affixed to him. But everybody's sort of implying that Singh's trying to ride this out so he can get to the point where his federal pension kicks in. I don't know if it's so much about the pension. Maybe that's part of it, but I think that's a little minutia. That's a little nitty gritty for the bigger picture. I think that Jagmeet Singh and the NDP acknowledge right now that they're not in a good position to go to a federal election.
100%.
And if they did, they too would get smoked.
Exactly.
And I think that they're trying to figure out a way. They want to be, obviously Jagmeet Singh wants to be Prime Minister. Obviously. He's also obviously not going to be. Now, obviously things can play out. I can be proven wrong. And if I am, I'll eat my crow in front of everybody, in front of these cameras. But the point is, they would love to be the official opposition. And right now, if the NDP plays its cards right, it could be the official opposition. So they got some time to figure that out, but they've got to do some fundraising. They've really got to make more of an impression on the public. And I think right now, Kenzie, thank you for Kenzie reminding me that the official nickname is Sellout Singh. Matt as well. Matt deserves 2 points. Says Sellout Singh wants his pension. I think it's more than just wanting the pension, but that's probably maybe a bit of a factor here. I want to thank those of you that submitted comments already. We're getting emails. I'm looking at my inbox right now. Don't show it. There's some private stuff in the inbox right now, John, but I'm looking in the inbox, and we're getting emails from you right now to talk@ryanjesperson.com. We appreciate that. And when Real Talk is back on the 6th of January, our first live episode back, we'll be getting to all of your comments. It's going to be a rowdy episode, and our first of 2025. We're looking forward to it. Of course, we do have our Real Talk Patreon Zoom Christmas party that's happening on the 20th of December. That's an exclusive opportunity for our Real Talk patrons. Check your email inboxes if you do support us on Patreon for the Zoom link. We're very much looking forward to that. In just a second, our final interview of 2024 is going to be with one of the biggest beauties you've ever met. You may already know Mike Stelter, Ben's dad, but if you don't, I guarantee he's going to make an impression on you. His family's been through a lot, but they're taking their own tragedy and turning it into remarkable progress for young kids and families that are fighting cancer. That's coming up, our final episode, our final interview of 2024 in just a moment. First, I want to remind you that these episodes happen with the support of amazing partners like Canada's Open University. That's Athabasca University, with world-class accredited online degrees and courses designed so you can complete your education whenever and wherever it works for you. The best part about Athabasca U, in my mind, the only commute is to your device. You're not fighting traffic. You're not fighting weather. You're not driving 45 minutes to get somewhere, some brick and mortar university. You're setting the schedule. You're selecting your own path. At AU, they're driven by a strong commitment to empower learners worldwide. You can learn more about their online undergraduate programs. They've got an amazing MBA program there. They're one of Canada's leading research institutions as well. Get your AU journey started today by learning more at athabascau.ca. And we want to give a special shout out to the team at Complete Care Restoration. You know, they're still working. They work around the clock, around the calendar year, making sure that folks are getting back on their feet after, in some cases, absolutely devastating situations. Fire, floods, sewer backups, burst pipes, you name it, they fix it. For more than 25 years, they've been restoring properties and rebuilding peace of mind, and they'll work directly with your insurance company so you can take that off your plate. We've worked with them. I recommend them wholeheartedly. 2 thumbs up. That's Complete Care Restoration. And of course, Johnny, we did want to mention something else. And we did establish how proud we are to be partnering with the team at UCAN Youth Services this year. This is a pretty new partnership, and we're really excited about it. We like to put our money where our mouth is and support agencies and nonprofits that are making real, tangible impacts in the communities they serve, and that is UCAN Youth Services, helping at-risk young adults, 18 to 25, find paths back into education and employment. You can learn more at ucan.ca, but this weekend, you can come say hi to the UCAN team. If you're anywhere in or near Edmonton, they're going to be at Southgate Mall this Saturday from 10 to 4. And then, of course, they have their Enchanted Illumination booth set up all the way through till January 7th, just outside the American Eagle store. Say hi to them. You can pick their brains, learn a little bit more about what they're doing, and please do purchase a balloon. I think they're $8, Johnny. They got these really neat balloons up for purchase. Bring one home, put it near your holiday tree or whatever it is that you're doing, and it'll remind you of the support that you gifted to UCAN Youth Services. They're literally changing lives for young adults 18 to 25. Again, you can learn more and get involved. In January, we're going to talk to you about their comedy nights. All the details at ucan.ca. Well, this guy is a familiar name, I think, not just to Albertans, but to hockey fans around the world. A big part of that, of course, is because of the awful reality that Mike Stelter, his wife, and his beautiful family lost their boy, Ben, to a rare and aggressive form of cancer. But Ben Stelter seared himself into the hearts of hockey fans around the world. A very close friend, despite the age difference, with the best hockey player in the world, Connor McDavid, with whom he shared ice and a very special relationship. Ben may be gone. A very, very difficult loss, not just for the Oilers community, not just for the hockey community, and obviously for the Stelter family, but his legacy is growing more and stronger every single year. And that includes the 2024 Ben's Cup, which is set to happen with a hockey tournament, a curling bonspiel, and more. Here to talk to us about it is Ben's dad, Mike, making his Real Talk debut. Brother, it's so nice to see your face. Thank you for making time for us today.
Oh, thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Does it ever get any easier to talk about your little boy? I mean, just what an absolutely wonderful boy. What a gutting loss. What's it like for you to talk about Ben publicly?
We found ways to sort of be able to turn it on and off. Nobody wants to see us crying all the time. There's still many days full of tears. It's losing a child is the worst thing to go through ever. But being able to talk about Ben and have people ask about Ben and Ben bring Ben up is huge for us. We realize how fortunate we are in such a terrible situations where some families, that's their biggest fear, is that people will forget about their child or won't speak about them. And we're very fortunate knowing that Ben is talked about often and that his legacy is really living on.
Isn't it? And I know you experience this all the time, but like if you say the name Ben in the city of Edmonton, it like everybody knows exactly who you're talking about. Like I see signs at Rogers Place when I'm at Oilers games, and they say, "Do it for Ben, win it for Ben." Everybody knows exactly who it is. Like, did you ever dream that would be the case with your son?
No, never. It's such a crazy feeling to explain. Even like being at an Oilers game and you see a Stelter jersey walking around and you don't know who the person is wild. Years ago, that would be embarrassing, having a jersey with your own name on the back. Having a jersey with Ben's name on the back is pretty special now.
Yeah, no kidding. What do you think it was about your son that, like, I'll say, Mike, and you know, I was the Oilers host for like 7 years. You know, my co-pilot here, Johnny Infamous, the Oilers DJ for 7 years. Johnny, we've seen so many families come through and obviously forge special relationships with the players. And I know that the team does a lot to make sure that they provide supports and encouragements when they can. But there was something different about Ben. There was something different about how he connected with 97 and 29 and the other players. What was it about your little boy?
It's just Ben. His personality was so incredible, and just how happy and positive he always was. He was never complaining or thinking, poor me kind of thing. It's just that big smile on his face and his giggle. And I think people just loved following along for the ride. And that's what they were doing. It wasn't trying to get where it was. It just came so organically and unexpected. And the way it blew up was really special to watch and have a front row seat for.
Absolutely amazing. So you and many others I know are working very hard, Mike, getting ready for the Ben's Cup. This is the inaugural, isn't it? This is the very first one?
This is the first one, and we have an incredible committee behind us helping us out, but we've been planning this one since probably about February this year.
Wow. So take us into it. It looks to me like an absolute winter festival. You got kids coming. There's going to be a little hockey tournament. You got a curling bonspiel, all the stuff. What's this all about?
We've got everything, and the big thing is to raise money for the Ben Stelter Foundation. So it's a youth hockey tournament. We have U11, U13. We have 32 teams that we're hosting, so it's a pretty good size tournament. We have a curling bonspiel as well with 24 teams at the same location, which is going to be fun. But it's a little bit different than most hockey tournaments. This one's a big fundraiser, and the kids have a fundraising aspect for it as well. It's so powerful to see kids helping kids wanting to make a difference and raising money for other kids. The fundraising's been up for about 7 weeks now, and the kids already surpassed $230,000, which is incredible. So we have some pretty fun stuff lined up for the kids. We have an all-star game for the top 40 fundraisers that's really taken off well. They're going to be treated like VIPs and all-stars the whole weekend. But we really want to celebrate the kids this tournament weekend. It's going to be a blast, and it's December 27th, 28th, 29th. And all of the money being raised from this tournament is going towards the Ben Stelter Center for Proton Therapy and Neurosciences, which is an advanced type of cancer treatment that Canada is currently the only G7, G8 country that doesn't have it.
This type of stuff. I mean, Mike, gosh, I'm going to say something so obvious here, but for a lot of people, for everybody, until tragedy strikes your family, heaven forbid, but that stuff's not on your radar. Like people, I remember working on a campaign for the Brain Center, which is very different than what your family's doing, but same sort of a deal on a stroke ambulance. They were trying to raise $1 million for a special ambulance that could be deployed to help older folks that have, or anybody for that matter, that suffered a stroke. Well, I had no idea that we needed a special stroke ambulance. Nobody does until their family member has a stroke and there's no help available. How much have you learned through your own family's journey, and maybe talk to us about what drives you and your wife Leah and the family and everybody else to continue this work?
Yeah, what drives us is Ben, and knowing just the holes in our healthcare system and the whole journey, or his whole journey. We wanted to fill those holes and make it better. This is one project that we've been working on for just about 2 years now, to bring proton therapy here. We are learning all about it. Funny enough, and not in a hilarious way, we are having meetings about this in January, February, 2 years ago, 2020 or 2023, last year. And a couple months later, I was having really bad back pain. Started going to the doctor. They couldn't figure it out. Months later, I was diagnosed with a tumor on my back, and they said the treatment that I need is proton therapy. At that time, I was very well versed, and I knew a lot about proton therapy because this is something that we were trying to bring to Canada. For the first time, knowing that we didn't have it, knowing that it would have helped Ben probably not save his life, but it would have been beneficial to him for sure. And then just as we're learning about it, as my journey went through, we have met so many Albertans, so many families that have had to travel to Florida or to the United States for this treatment. And it's not us looking for the best treatment available, hitting up Google, trying to say, hey, what can I do? This is what the oncologists are recommending, saying this is the treatment you need. And there's a lot of families that we've come across that aren't able to go themselves or send their children for this treatment because they can't afford it. It's incredibly expensive to have to uproot your life and travel there, where the treatment itself is covered. But then you're talking about 8-10 weeks of accommodations, transportation, meals. There's so many out-of-pocket expenses, and it just gets wild in a hurry.
No kidding. It's really remarkable what your family's doing, Mike, to sort of ease the stress and create opportunities for other families that are going through similar scenarios and situations to what you're going through. I should mention, by the way, your appearance here on the show is bringing together a political audience, and everybody's on the same page, which very rarely happens. This doesn't often happen in our live chat, but everybody can agree that your family is one of the most beloved families that we have ever known. We feel like we know you, Mike, because your family has lived out both tragedy and triumph publicly, which is a huge thing to ask of a family. One of our audience members right now says that photo of Ben, that silhouette with his arms raised is an iconic image. And I guarantee even the people listening on the podcast know exactly what image we're talking about because it is iconic. That's the image that people will see when they check out benstelterfoundation.com. It is the time of year, Mike, when a lot of people are making donation decisions. People are going to be making their charitable contributions ahead of the deadline for CRA and that type of thing. What's maybe one other thing that you're really proud of with the Ben Stelter Foundation and the work that's being done there? I know you have the 4 different pillars that we haven't had a chance to talk about yet.
Yeah, something that we're very proud about is the money's going to the cause. So Lee and myself and Chief Menchie on our board as well, running this, we're very cost conscious to make sure that money isn't being wasted. There's no wasted money on admin costs or anything like that. One thing we're very proud about is last year, 96 cents for every dollar went directly to the cause, only 4% on expenses, which was incredibly hard to do, but low. But it's something that we're striving for, to make sure that the money's going to the cause, because pediatric cancer is so underfunded. We're investing into research. We have an incredible medical equipment program set up within the Stollery, BC Children's Hospital, just about in Calgary at Alberta Children's Hospital as well, to help buy medical equipment that just isn't covered by private benefits or healthcare. It's going incredibly well, and we're setting up magical experiences for kids. Maybe they've experienced something really fun in the past, but they relapse or their condition starts to get worse. We want to give them something fun to look forward to. Ben got to experience so many cool things, and it helped his journey so much. And just to forget about the terrible days and all the crap that you're going through, to be able to put a smile on your face and have something fun to look forward to, and just feel like the most important person for a day is incredible and so helpful to families.
We've got Tracy D in our live chat, powered by Park Power, says it's so bizarre that we don't have some of these resources in Alberta yet. She says, I am so grateful that the Stelter Foundation is focusing on this stuff. Tobias, I don't know if you know him, says, geez, I miss Ben. And Sylvia just says, play La Bamba, baby. People can hear your little guy's voice saying that. People can learn more about Ben's Cup, where we can all learn to fight like Ben. The 2024 Ben's Cup, the inaugural, at benscup.com. I know that registration's full for the hockey teams, correct? But people can come watch. What a thrill it would be for these kids to have the stands packed.
Absolutely, especially for that All-Star game on Saturday, the 28th at 5:30. We'd love to have it packed for the kids, let them feel like all-stars and just really come out and celebrate them. We're going to have an incredible, huge silent auction and raffle out there. We have some signed McDavid jerseys, a really cool liquor basket, some really fun Oilers swag. The team has been very good. Connor McDavid has been very good to sign a lot of things. We have an online 50-50 going. If you can't make it out, if you go to benscup.com, there's links there for our 50-50. You can head on to the donation page to support these kids. Donation receipts are available for every donation over $10. You can sort of help bump these kids up for the ones trying to make the All-Star game. We also have a pretty cool raffle on there for the permanent Christmas lights, the ones that most neighbors are jealous that your neighbors have, that are really cool. Where we have a raffle going on for those as well. It's a $7,000 value, and there's some pretty good odds of winning that. So we're very grateful for all of the support we have. But if you can help these kids out and visit benscup.com to see how you can support, we would be very appreciative.
All right, brother. All you have to this is the time of year you want to remind people what it's like in minus 18 to be up on a ladder trying to get your Christmas lights up while the snow is flying and the sidewalk's slippery. Those permanent Christmas lights are incredible. Absolutely amazing stuff. You can count us in on that 50-50 too. Absolutely 100%. Remind us what rink this is at. You said the 28th at 5:30 for the All-Star game?
You bet. Thanks so much. It's at our Drawson Recreation Complex. Beautiful rink. They just had some renovations done a few years ago. It's a great facility. So we're appreciative for all of their help and support, and it's going to be a blast this weekend.
Awesome.
Or next week.
Hey, listen, my man, we love you. We love your family. Your family is beloved, not just in the Edmonton region, the Alberta region, but of course across the country and around the world. It is no small thing. I'll let people know a little peek behind the curtain. The only time that I've had everybody wants to talk to you all the time. You and Lee, everybody always wants to talk to you guys. You and I were able to carve out some time at that tragically hip tribute show at Midway Music Hall a few months back in support of the Alberta Cancer Foundation. I'll always cherish that time with you. Got to know you a little bit better, but it also just goes to show that you and your family are showing up time after time for fundraising and awareness, and for a lot of people that have experienced the loss that you did, that is not something they would be keen on doing. It, I would imagine, takes a lot out of you, and I think that you deserve, you and Leah and the family, recognition for what you're doing. I want to applaud you for that and let you know how much we respect you and we'll be thinking of you this holiday season, Mike.
Oh, incredible. Thank you so much. It's not needed, but I appreciate it.
You got it, brother. Much love. Look forward to the next time our paths cross. That'll be at Ben's Cup. People can check it out right now, of course, at benscup.com. I'm looking at the raffle, Johnny. I got to get in on that 50-50. But again, all of this, Ben's Cup, the inaugural 2024, in support of the Ben Stelter Foundation and Cancer Research. Mike, Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you got it. Would you agree with me? I mean, how many you and I probably worked, 250, 300 Oilers games together approximately over the years-ish.
A million.
Yeah. Nobody connected or still continues to connect with oil country like Ben Stelter.
Yeah, and that's not to say that, the Edmonton Oilers Community Foundation, they do a lot of work with a lot of kids. And that's not to say that any of them weren't important, but many of them came out as the skater before the game. Many of them visited the locker room.
Yep.
Many of them had charities that we supported. And that's not to say that any of them meant any less than Ben did. But like his dad said, there's just something about when something happens organically. You don't force something on to the fans. They just embrace it. And there was just something about Ben, his voice, the little catchphrases that were so witty that we all think of now, when he said woof to Kachuk during the playoffs, just all of these things that every time he opened his mouth, it was another golden laden phrase, another gem that he would say. And he was just a special little boy. And I said this yesterday, I'll say it again. He had a big impact on the team, but especially Connor. There was an interview where he was talking about Ben right after he left us, and just Connor never shows emotion, and you can just tell this little kid is going to have a place in his heart forever. So I know the holidays this year, especially with everything going on with Canada Post and the cost of living, if you can find $5, $10, whatever you can find, just go donate to not only the Stelter Foundation, but try to make it out for this event. It's going to be an awesome event. I'm going to be there. I'm sure we can both make it out as well. It's going to be awesome, and just continue to support whatever you can around the holidays in little increments. And I know this year it's hard, again, I'll say, with affordability and everything, but this is just something that means a lot. Not only, I mean, look at this chat right now.
It's
look
lighting
at this,
up right now.
This chat right now. Everybody, it's like you said. You don't even have to say his last name, Ryan.
As soon as
just
you say Ben,
at the
everybody
game.
knows.
Everyone turns their head. They just, yeah, Benny, we love Ben.
Everybody knows. Do it for Ben. I guarantee. Yeah, absolutely amazing, and a special relationship there. And like we said, I mean, it like rooted in tragedy. Like, it's awful. Mike deserves so much credit for. I just try to walk a mile in those shoes. Like I know many of you are right now. You know, how about this? People are leaving comments. Sylvia says Ben was a child of joy. I mean,
always happy, man.
You know,
always happy.
And really amazing. Les says this is a miracle out of a tragedy. And we really appreciate those comments. Some of you are kicking into our YouTube super chat, $10. You know, saying, please contribute this to the 50-50. 100% we will. Absolutely we will. I saw another 20 in there. I want to recognize the names here, but the chat is just going off right now. Shout out to you, Ken K with a $20 kick in, Sylvia with 10, saying, please contribute this on behalf of Real Talk. It would be our honor to do that. And that's something, you know, we'll see a continuing relationship. That Tragically Hip tribute show, we believe that's going to be an annual one as well. And that's one that we were proud to support as well. When a cause resonates with us or resonates with this audience, I think it's an honor for us to support it as best we can. Real Talkers, what a year it's been for this show, and we want to thank you for that. Wouldn't be anything without you. The numbers, I mean, we talked to you yesterday. Our Spotify audience up 55% this year.
Thank you so much.
We doubled our YouTube subscribers this year, Real Talkers. That's because of you. Can Johnny and I ask you for something for Christmas? Those of you that are going to hear this, you're watching on LinkedIn right now, or you're watching on TikTok, or whatever it is. Maybe you're watching on YouTube and you don't subscribe. We're a little bit. We're just, there's something that
just shy of 20K.
We're sitting at like 19,500 and some subscribers. We'd love to hit 20,000
for Christmas.
All we want for Christmas
is your sub.
Is 20,000 YouTube subscribers. We are that petty. And if so, you could swing on by and subscribe today. We sure would appreciate it. To our Real Talk patrons, we're looking forward to hanging out with you tomorrow. It's not too late for you to sign up and support this show as a Real Talk patron. You go to our website, ryanjesperson.com, click on Connect, and just follow the links there. Our patrons, and we'll be running through a laundry list tomorrow with them and all the things that they allow us to do through their contributions. But off the top of my head, you've helped us add more cameras to our setup. You've helped us improve our lighting.
Microphones.
You help us. I mean, these microphones that were these unbelievable
and that's all from the that's all from the doubling of everything. We got a little more income, and we spent it where we want to, which is
to
giving you more quality.
Yeah. And one of the big things as well that we're really proud to do, John, and we feel strongly about this, is supporting other independent journalists that appear on the show.
Of course.
And we do our best to have them. We can't do it every single time, but in many circumstances, off the top of my head, Kyle Brattain, the weather scientist, we've done it with reporting out of the Ukraine this year. We've done it with Matt Masters, and the musician, and his book on living after diagnosis with bipolar disorder. And we're able to support these other freelance independent journalists financially thanks to your support of this show, and we appreciate it. What do you see?
Aaron Aslin with $100 super chat just now. Thank you so much, Aaron.
Incredible. Aaron, we see your emails as well to the show on a regular basis. Thank you for holding our feet to the fire. Aaron is such an informed and engaged citizen, and we always appreciate her emails to talk at Ryan Jesperson. Put your face on camera so people can see you right now.
It's just,
that just
it
knocks
makes
your
me
socks
happy.
off.
You know,
your socks off.
I'm not kidding. I want to end the year calm, stress-free, and happy. This makes me happy, Aaron. That's incredible. It's very generous. We'll make sure it goes to the right place.
Thank you, Aaron. We appreciate you and everybody else. Friends, we wrap this episode with one of our favorite traditions, courtesy of our friends at the DQs of Northwest Edmonton and Sherwood Park. We hand the microphone over to you. These are all of your absolute hottest takes. That's right. You're all fired up. These are real emails to talk at ryanjesperson.com. It's the Flamethrower, presented by the DQs of Northwest Edmonton and Sherwood Park. This one from Martin, who watches us in the beautiful province of Manitoba. What's up, Martin? He says, let me get this straight. Donald Trump, yeah, that guy called our prime minister a governor. He's suggesting that Canada's the 51st state. Oh, buddy, he's gone and done it now. Gone and done it. You think we're just some polite little porch light hanging off America's garage? Newsflash, we're a sovereign nation. We burn our own pancakes and we pour our own damn syrup. Thank you very much. I love that. He says, Canada's not the 51st anything. We're number one in hockey. We're number one in healthcare that doesn't bankrupt you. And we're number one in making America look bad every time there's a global survey on happiness or education. We fought in 2 world wars before you even showed up. And don't get me started on NAFTA, where you tried to bully us with tariffs on steel and aluminum. We didn't flinch. And calling our prime minister a governor, whether you love or hate Justin Trudeau, let's give the office some respect. This is the country that produced Tommy Douglas, the father of Medicare. Pierre Trudeau flipped the bird at protesters. We're not afraid to stand up for ourselves, and we sure don't take orders from the White House. So, Mr. Trump, keep your oversized Big Macs and reality TV energy on your side of the border. We'll stick to Tim Hortons, universal health care, and not being an international punchline. Canada's not your sidekick. We're the main event. Now, if you'll excuse me, Marty says, I got a double-double to drink. I like that one. That's one of the best ones of the year. How about this one from Gerald, who says, Jespo, it's pretty weird to hear you say, I don't remember if I actually said this, but he says it's pretty weird to hear you say that nobody gets the best of Donald Trump. You had on your show an individual who admitted that Canada won the last North American Free Trade Agreement with Trump, NAFTA 2.0. Gerald says, I think it's really important for us to stop looking at public perception and look at paper documents. Look at the facts, Ryan. The last time Justin Trudeau's government negotiated with Trump's government, we won in those negotiations. That's why Trump doesn't like Trudeau. Even all this talk of tariffs, when you think about what Canada actually sells to the States, a majority of it's raw goods they have no choice. And the tariffs are just going to make those goods more expensive. For Canadians, the actual impact on the amount of stuff Canada will sell to the U.S. could be minuscule. It's a lot of bluff and bluster at this point. Gerald says there's definitely smaller goods, independent breweries, independent companies, smaller businesses that ship to the States that'll be impacted by tariffs. I'm not trying to minimize that, but macro impact on Canada and our economy, Trump is bluffing at the poker table. We need to call his bluff. That from Gerald. What about this one from Dolly, who says, so instead of a united all-hands-on-deck Team Canada approach to dealing with Donald Trump, the most chaotic bull in the global China shop, our provinces are out here freelancing like it's the Wild West. What's going on? Picture it. Here's Doug Ford, sleeves rolled up, wheeling into a meeting with Trump. Hey, Donald, I love the hair. Let's cut a side deal for Ontario, and I'll throw in a case of buck of beer for free. Meantime, Danielle Smith's probably sketching out a plan to start trading Alberta beef directly for MAGA hats. We don't need Ottawa. We'll just build our own pipeline straight to Mar-a-Lago. Dolly says, this is embarrassing. We're supposed to be a country, not a season of Survivor Federalism edition. If there's one thing we've learned from Trump, it's that he thrives on division. The guy sees Doug Ford, Danielle Smith going rogue, and he's licking his chops like he just walked into a buffet at KFC. Divide and conquer is his playbook. Dolly says Canada needs a single coordinated strategy, and preferably one that involves standing up for our interests without looking like desperate teenagers vying for the cool kids' approval. That from Dolly.
Wait, KFC has a buffet?
Dude, that was news to me.
That's insane.
I was making a mental note as I was reading it.
This can't be legal.
Are you more of a breast or a drumstick guy when you're at KFC?
I'm not going to answer that. It's
okay.
too sexual.
I'm whatever they have. I'm just all about the KFC gravy, baby, when we're slumming it at the Dirty Bird. We're talking about KFC in the middle of a DQ-sponsored segment. Let's get back to it. You know what I love the most is the chicken at DQ. The DQs of Northwest Edmonton and Sherwood Park.
Way better.
That's the chicken I love.
Highest quality.
Who was that? Dolly? Dolly, next time, if you could integrate maybe something about Flamethrower burgers, maybe that would be preferable. Hey, how about this one from Menchie, who writes in, and this is serious subject matter. Menchie says, as a former security guard, I want to tell you that a big thing driving this business is fraud. Insurance companies force businesses to have security guards to reduce their outrageous premiums. Businesses save more money paying a full-time guard than paying for bloated insurance payments. And then the government gets its greasy fingers into the pie and ensures that security guards can't even touch alleged criminals. The government's made the law so ridiculously hard for law enforcement that criminals are getting away with virtually everything, even when they are observed committing crimes. If a security or a loss prevention guard sees a crime in progress, they have to have eyes on the perpetrator the entire time. They can't break eye contact even if the perp leaves the area. And then they can't touch the alleged perp. They can only call 911, waiting for police to arrive as the criminal just skips away. They can't be detained. It's considered assault. Perps' rights are being protected as they have the right to leave the area. Today's security is a uniform, a flashlight, and a radio. Guards are told to patrol areas, and if they see crime in progress, call dispatch, who then calls 911. The law says we are not to engage. But if guards see a person in distress, all of a sudden now they're first responders who are personally responsible if complications happen to the victim. The family, the victim, can sue the security guard for everything they're worth. Menchie says, people need to be more informed. We need to talk more about security regulations and have a happy new year. That's from Menchie, the final flamethrower of 2024. This is proudly presented by the DQs of Northwest Edmonton and Sherwood Park. That's Palisades, Nemeo, Newcastle, Westmount, and Baseline Road. When you swing in to say hi and grab a flamethrower burger, you make sure you let them know that Real Talk sent you. Hey, in all seriousness, we love the heck out of you guys. Thanks for your support of the show this year. We promise you big things, bigger things in 2025.
Happy holidays,
Make
everyone.
it a great holiday season. On behalf of John Hicks, John, I appreciate you, and myself and our Relay
Love you,
family
buddy.
behind the scenes. We love you guys. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. We'll talk to you again on January 6th.
Real Talk is hosted by Ryan Jesperson, executive producer Josh Dunford, technical producer John Hicks, general manager Katie Cook-Chivers, account coordinator Lawrence Derlego, human resources Lena Shepard, website design Mike Johnston, voiceover by me, Carrie Skelton. Real Talk's editorial board is Supriya Dwivedi, Ahmed Ali, Brandy Morin, Ann Castleman, Corey Hogan, Harmon Candola, Catherine O'Neill, and Chris Henderson. Member Emerita, Julie Rohr. Real Talk is recorded in Edmonton, Alberta on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral territory of the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, and Nakota Sioux, home to the Métis settlements and the Métis Nation of Alberta. Real Talk is a relay project. For more, check out ryanjesperson.com.